everyone. Myself Dr. Ashok Patil, Professor and HOD, Department of Swastha and Yoga, Shri B M Kankanawadi Ayurveda Medical College. Today we will discuss non-communicable diseases, the classical approach towards the non-communicable diseases. Usually the communicable diseases are dealt in terms of Sankramana. Various aspects of Sankramanas are dealt in classics. Now we will see how non-communicable diseases are explained in classics and what are all the things they are mentioned in the classics what are all the things they have explained in the classics regarding non-communicable diseases and the preventive measures of non-communicable diseases. We will discuss one by one. In today's class, we will discuss regarding the infective and non-infective diseases, the concept of infection and non-infective diseases in Ayurveda, and as well as Sankramaka Roga and Janapadodvamsa and Samabhavas and Asamabhavas. Sankramika Rogas are mentioned as Sankramana in classics. The communicable diseases are mentioned as Sankramana, and various modes of transmissions are also explained clearly in classics like Prasanga, Gatra Samsparsha, Nishwasat, Sahabhojanat, Sahashayat, like that, where the particular cause is mentioned as a factor which attribute towards the manifestation of such infectious diseases, that is told in terms of Sankramana. We can correlate it as an infectious disorders. But what about non-communicable diseases? Non-communicable diseases are also mentioned in terms of risk factors, wherein which many health measures are mentioned in terms of Dinacharya, Rutucharya, Sadruta, Hitacharya, Sadachara, whereas if at all these principles are not followed, then the person ends up with non-communicable disorders. We can also call them as metabolic disorders or lifestyle disorders. Now we will see one by one how the Ayurveda explains the non-communicable diseases in detail. Like risk factors can be divided into two factors, that is Samabhavas and as well as the Asamabhavas. That means the common factor and uncommon factors. For example, the water which we consume, the air which we respire, these are all considered as the Samabhavas. Whereas some of the factors which are Asamabhavas, whereas it differs from person to person. For example, individual prakriti is different, individual food habits are different, individuals' characters are different. But even then, the same sort of people are getting affected with the same type of a disorder. How it is possible? In the classics, when the conversation goes on, then the Acharya explains like this: the Samabhavas, whereas the vitiation of Samabhava leading to the Janapadodvamsa, that is nothing but either it may be the communicable diseases or it may be the non-communicable diseases. When whole community is suffered with such disorders, we can correlate as Janapadodvamsakara bhavas. And also the non-communicable diseases also, when it spreads the whole community, then it can be concluded as the Janapadodvamsa as per the classics. Now we will see how to prevent these communicable and as well as the non-communicable diseases. Especially we are concentrating in this class regarding the non-communicable diseases. So let us start the discussion with understandings in Ayurveda and as well as need for the prevention, scope for the prevention, and as well as the nidhanas for it, the risk factors and preventive measures. Most common problem encountered in clinical practice is the non-communicable disease. For example, the patient comes with one set of signs and symptoms and accidentally he finds the other disease, that is accidental detection of the disease. Worldwide, problem affecting 29% of the adult population is suffering with these non-communicable disease. Present treatments in other system of medicines, they are only relieving the signs and symptoms. That means we are just managing the diabetes, we are managing the hypertension, but not getting the complete treatment for this non-communicable diseases, including this diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, the carcinoma, such non-communicable disorders which are affecting and become a high mortality and morbidity status for our country. Each disorder appear to be the most important risk factors for the development of other diseases too. In our Ayurveda understanding, it is told by Acharyas that Nahi Sarva Vikaranam Namatu Dhruvatu Asti. That means the emerging diseases, we can't name particularly that this disease can be correlated with such a disorder which is mentioned in the classics. But by proper observations of dosha involvement and dhatu involvement in that, we can treat the diseases based on doshic concept. Accordingly, the treating the doshas, vitiated doshas, and maintaining the samavastha of dhatus, then the person can be get rid of such disorders. Like the hypertension, the carcinoma, the diabetes, these can be correlated very easily with the raktatimarda, prameha, arbuda, rudroga, such disorders. To consider as a stage of a Kriya Kala, we can consider it as an early phase of Kriya Kala. That means Sanchaya Avastha only, we have to take care of these diseases, we have to address these disorders, then only the further manifestation of the progression of the disease or the complications can be avoided. It is not possible to recognize in early phase of Kriya Kala, hence the clinical diagnosis may be missed, especially in terms of these non-communicable diseases. And one survey is showing that the 25% of adults are having diastolic more than 90 mm of Hg. That is once again a bad remark or a cautious remark. Then 60% among the 1000 male and female population are suffering with these non-communicable disorders, and 35 to 40% of male and female population in urban areas, in rural areas are suffering with this non-communicable diseases, and hence it is to be addressed correctly. If left untreated or uncontrolled, lead to dangerous complications which we know already. Contemporary medicine is also recommending some non-pharmacotherapeutic methods along with the pharmacotherapeutic interventions like lifestyle modification, where in which the vast explanation of these lifestyle modifications are mentioned in our classics. Ayurveda offers a more structured and varied approach that make implementation very easier to modify our lifestyle, whereas we are cutting down the risk factors which are having an attribute towards the development of such non-communicable disorders. For example, Nidana for all these non-communicable diseases can be classified as the Vata Prakopaka Nidana, Sruta Varudaka Nidana, Agni Vaishamya, Dosha Sanchayakara Nidana, Mala Sanchayakara Nidanas, and then it can be further very easily classified as Aharaja Nidhanas, Viharaja Karanas, and Manasika Karanas. Aharaja Karanas, if at all, any factor which is mentioned in the Bhojana Vidhi, any regimen which is mentioned in the Bhojana Vidhi, if we are not following the such Ahara Vidhi Vidhana or Ashtavida Ahara Vidhi Vishesha Yatanas, then definitely leading to either communicable diseases or non-communicable diseases. Now coming to the Viharaja Nidhanas, for example, Diva Swapa, leading to the Kapha Vriddhi, leading to the Agni Mandya and production of Ama and Sruta Varuda. And also one more pathology, one more samprapti we can understand is during doing Ayavayama leading to the Medu Vardhaka, and thereby manifestation of such lipid disorders, manifestation of such non-communicable disorders or metabolic disorders, and practice of Vegadharana, Ativayama also leading to the Vata Prakopa and manifestation of such disorders. Coming to the Manasika Nidhanas like Chinta, Bhaya, Krodha, Shoka, Vataruddhi, Dhatukshaya, and Krodha, Irsha, Udvega leading to the Pitta Dosha Vriddhi and Rakta Dushti, and Bhaya leading to Rasarakta Dushti and Vikshepana, and leading to the manifestation of so many disorders. Then non-communicable diseases are not having the agent, whereas in infectious diseases we can tell that this disease has come from this agent. But in non-communicable diseases, the agent is explained in terms of risk factors, where in Ayurveda, the risk factors can be correlated with these points, that is Madhyati Sevana, Atilavana Sevana, sedentary lifestyle, mental stress and physical strain. When the person practices these risk factors frequently, then the chances of getting manifestation with these non-communicable diseases will be at a higher state. Now we will see one by one how these risk factors are going to develop the manifestation of non-communicable disease. It may be hypertension, it may be diabetes, it may be carcinoma, it may be some other cardiovascular diseases. Then we will see. For example, Madhyati Sevana. When the person habituated with Madhya or drinking alcohol, intoxicating dose of alcohol definitely going to lead to the excitability and contractibility of the heart muscle, and thereby the cardiac rate and cardiac output will be increasing, and thereby hypertension and other disorders. It is once again a creating pathology, and by this pathology many other pathologies will set and the person will suffer with these metabolic disorders. Same in case of high salt intake. In the faulty food practices, we started consuming high salt, and thereby here the thing is ability, the sodium chloride, whatever we are consuming the normal salt, where the sodium is having ability to retain the water in the blood, and when the proportion of the volume increases, the blood proportion increases, definitely increases the blood pressure. When the pressure increases, there the much complications are going to be appreciated in the human body. Like that, sedentary habits, abnormal increase in the lipids in the blood leading to the increase in predisposing factors like atherosclerosis, and that increases the peripheral resistance, and once again there are all chances of the getting the hypertension of such disorders. Then the mental stress, manasika nidhana, constrictions of the vessels of visceral organs by repeated mental stress, blood flows in larger quantity to the muscle of trunks and limbs, and heart beats faster and pulse quickens, and definitely the BP rises, and thereby the further complications can be seen. Same in case of stress and strain, it is once again a major risk factors in developing this non-communicable diseases. Isotonic exercises like jogging and swimming, they do not cause much strain because it lowers the body weight, and it is helpful in preventing hypertension or such disorders, and hence one should go for this regular exercises, that too isotonic type of exercises. But when the person do exercises in excess quantity, in excessive time, that is isometric exercises like weightlifting, bodybuilding exercises, there will be sudden rise of blood pressure, and thereby the many complications can be appreciated. And hence the risk factors can be classified as the modifiable and non-modifiable risk factors. Non-modifiable risk factors are once again the age and genetic factors, these can't be modified. And it is observed that when both parents are normotensive, then the children are having the only 3% of chances to getting the development of non-communicable diseases in their future perspectives. Whereas if the parents are both normotensive, both hypertensive parents, then the children are having 45% of chances of getting hypertension and such other disorders in the later stages, in the future perspectives. And hence marriage counseling should be done, consanguineous marriages should be prevented. So these are, once again, these age and genetic factors and all these factors are non-modifiable, whereas modifiable factors are there which are going to cause non-communicable diseases. The major factors are enlisted here: obesity, high salt intake, saturated fat intake, alcohol intake, physical activity, hyperactivity or inactivity, environmental stress. These can be modifiable by the regimens which are mentioned in Ayurveda in the various levels. And these levels, the measures can be understood properly and structuredly by in various headings like primordial prevention, primary, secondary and tertiary prevention. Coming to the primordial prevention, that means the fixing of risk factors at the very early stages, in the developing stages itself. That means survey to be conducted at schools to screen for family history, to identify the children with high average of BP levels, to that age or blood glucose level, discouraging the children from getting harmful lifestyle and to educate about the correct food habits. So this is at the very primary levels, and we are calling it as a primordial prevention. That means the disease risk factors, preventing the risk factors at a very early stages before budding into the very high stages. Next, school curricula should include the health education programs, nutrition programs, other healthy lifestyle aimed at preventing cardiovascular diseases and other chronic disorders. That means the proper ahara vidhi vidhana and ashtavida ahara vidhi visheshayatana, these principles are to be conveyed properly to the school going children and at the early stages itself. Then when the failure of primordial prevention, then the disease will start occurring in the community, and then we need to take care of primary prevention measures to reduce the incidence in the population by reducing the risk factors which we have discussed earlier. Where the self-care, nutrition, weight reduction, exercise promotion, behavioral changes, health education, these plays an important role. Coming to the nutrition, first of all, as the risk factors, we have concentrated on salt intake, reduction of a salt intake, that not more than 5 grams per daily. Whereas the potassium, it is having the antagonizing property against the sodium, which is having the water retaining capacity of the sodium. So hence the potassium should be consumed along with the sodium. And hence Ayurveda tells the consumption of Saindava Lavana. It is mentioned in Nitya Sevaniya Dravya also. So better to go for shift to the Saindava Lavana rather than going for the refined normal salt. Calcium supplementation definitely going to reduce the reduction in hypertension, and hence the calcium supplementation should be proper. That means the consumption of this egg and white foods like milk, ragi, these are very calcium rich foods, and hence in our ahara, whatever the foodstuffs which are mentioned in Nitya Sevaniya Dravyas, which are mentioned in Charaka, so all these foods articles, food particles should be included in our dietetic pattern. The intake of this dietary fiber, magnesium and potassium definitely going to reduce the hypertension in the individuals, healthy individuals, and thereby preventing further complications. It is the mineral analysis of Saindava, where you can see the sodium level, and along with the sodium, the potassium is also there, which is going to act as an antagonizing action against the sodium. Now, coming to the micromineral, vitamin E, C should be supplied, whereas instead of vitamin C, directly Ayurveda also prefers the Amalaki, Nitya Sevaniya Dravya. So hence the Amalaki should be consumed as a daily food. Deficiency leading to the scurvy and bleeding of arterial walls and blood clots, formation of plaques leading to further complications, and vitamin E is to be supplied by Nitya Sevaniya Dravyas. Where in which in Nitya Sevaniya Dravya, the sarpi is mentioned, the milk is mentioned. So the fats not to exceed 20% of total calorie intake. That means in the total calorie intake, the calories from the fat what we are getting should not exceed 20%. Supplementation with omega-3 PUFAs definitely going to reduce the BP, and hence the institution of more omega-3 PUFAs are to be done, and promotion of use of this oils, that is safflower, sunflower, sesame oil, groundnut oil, etc. should be promoted. Coming to one more risk factors, that is high alcohol intake. How it is to be restricted? Once again, not more than 1 drink per day. That is, a tapering off pattern is to be conveyed to the patient, and thereby complete avoidance of non-alcohol can be achieved. 1 drink means understanding that 12 ounce of beer, 360 ml of beer, 5 ounce of wine, that is 150 ml, 1.5 ounce of hard liquor, that is 45 ml of 100% proof. This helps in the restriction of energy intake, and thereby many complications or many pathologies which will be created by high alcohol intake, those can be prevented. Coming to the weight reduction, Ayurveda offers a structured treatment protocol for this Medo Vikaras, and all those treatment principles are to be followed in preventing the upcoming complications of Medoja Rogas. Maintaining BMI between 18.5 to 24.9 kg per meter square. Diet, we have discussed diet, which should be rich in the seasonal fruits and vegetables and low fat products. Reduce the content of saturated and total fat. Usually the people are habituated with this junk food items and bakery products which are prepared out of this saturated fat, which are to be avoided, and regular aerobic physical activity is to be maintained. And in Nitya Dinacharya, Rutucharya, these are to be followed, wherein which Udvartana, Upavasa and Gurucha Tarpana. If at all the patient is diseased with the heavy weight, then this overweight can be managed by the specific treatment principles which are mentioned in classics. Exercise promotion, Vyayama and Vyayama, the benefits of Vyayama are widely explained in the classics. Adopting isotonic exercises rather than going for the isometric exercises like regular aerobic physical activity, brisk walking, at least 30 minutes per day, at least 5 days in a week is to be practiced. Behavioral changes, once again the non-pharmacotherapeutic intervention will come here, whereas yoga plays an important role in doing the behavioral changes of the person. practice of Shavasanas and other relaxing postures. Meditation is having a very beneficial results, and other relaxing techniques reduces the activity of sympatheto-adrenal system. All helps in reduction of catecholamine turnover, and definitely gradually it reduces the blood pressure. Some of the yogas which are very easy to perform, which should be learned by the good learners, those are the Shavasanas, Nadi Shodhana Pranayamas, Chandravedana Pranayamas, in Sukhasana, Ujjayi Pranayama. These are very much helpful in preventing the stress and strain which the person usually affected with routinely. Now meditation, it is mentioned in research articles that in research studies have proved that after intensive meditation of 10 days, there has the marked increase in the neurohormones and their enzymes such as acetylcholine, catecholamine, cholesterase and monoamine oxidase with a fall of plasma cortisol. Combination of relaxing posture, breathing exercises and meditation are having a very better results in preventing the hypertension and other disorders. And hence these are to be practiced. Health education, preventive advices on all risk factors, advice on related health behaviors, advice for regular health checkups who attains more than 40, and the females after menopause, one should go for regular health checkup. Advice regarding the balanced diet is to be done for maintenance of optimal weight, or 10% of less than of the optimal weight is to be maintained. One has to take care of his own, that is swasharirasya. The person has to take care of himself, monitoring his own BP and keeping a logbook of readings, following of Dincharya, Ritucharya, Sadruta, Ahara Parikrama, Bhojana Vidhi, Ashtavida Ahara Vidhi Visheshaya, adopting these Ashtavida Ahara Vidhi Visheshayatanas and Ahara Vidhi Vidhana in his practice, definitely the person will be prevented with the upcoming manifestation of these non-coming disorders in his future days. And also undergoing Ritushodhana is to be practiced. And it is shown that in research studies, Swastha Panchakarma lowers the cholesterol level, the seasonal Panchakarma lowers the cholesterol level, thereby lowering the predisposing risk factors. HDL will be raised, high density lipoprotein will be raised by 75%, that of before undergoing the Swastha Panchakarma. There will be reduction in the lipid peroxide levels, and rate of production of a new lipid peroxide is also reduced. So these are the various benefits which are appreciated by the research studies, and one has to go for this Swastha Panchakarma routinely. And Abhyanga, Swa Abhyanga is mentioned in Ayurveda classics, Vyayama, Abhyanga, Udvartana. These are the routines of Dincharya which is mentioned in the classics. So Abhyanga, which is involving the specific strokes over the different parts of the body, and the motion of the massage creates the heat and friction, enhances the circulation, cleanses the affected tissue of chemical impurities that could be causing the symptoms of hypertension. And oils and herbs cleanses and nourishes the tissues, and oil is the only medium wherein which more deeply penetration of this affected tissue can be possible. And one more important thing is Shirodhara. To relieve the stress and strain, the Shirodhara plays an important role, whereas it reduces the activity of sympatheto-adrenal system, and also it modifies the behavioral modification can be attempted. Then high risk strategy, detecting high risk subject, marriage counseling is to be done, and tracking of BP is to be done regularly. Now, once the failure of primary prevention, it proceeds to the secondary prevention. That means here the screening of population should be done, as rarely causing the symptom. All the symptoms will be disguised conditions, and hence if at all the proper screening is done, the diseases can be diagnosed at its early stages, and finding of those who are in need of intervention can be possible. So to conclude this concept of non-communicable diseases and its preventive measures in Ayurveda, all the measures which are mentioned are aimed towards the Vata to be undertaken. Effective prevention should aim towards the primordial and especially the primary aspect, so that the further preventive measures can be, further complications can be prevented. Nidana Parivarjana, the good hygienic ways of living and diet which are mentioned in the classics are helpful in preventing this non-communicable diseases. The best way to avoid the non-communicable disease is to follow the habits of our forefathers. Those are nothing but the following of these routine, dinacharya, ritucharya, sadruta, sadachara, hitacharya, sayamcharya. If at all the person follows these things perfectly and adopt these things perfectly, then there will be very less chances of getting manifestation with this seasonal disorders and other non-communicable disorders. With this, we conclude the lecture. Thank you.